Go.
Continue. Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is a great group for tonight, and I know everybody's here to hear the guest speaker, so we'll try to make this quick. But I'd like to ask if there's any new members to the chapter or those joining our Zoom meeting for the first time. If you raise your hand to be acknowledged, and we'll just scan. Oh, Anastasia, yes. You're on mute though. Tell us a little bit about yourself. There you go. Hi, nice seeing you again.
Yeah, very nice to see you. Very nice to see you again. Very nice to meet you all. Very nice to be a part of this, obviously this event, our monthly meetings. How I know about Trout Unlimited, my dad is actually he's on the board for the Mayanas chapter back east in Connecticut. Huge thing we do. It's a huge passion for me. I'm a geology major, so obviously you guys can imagine I love being outdoors. Something that we've always done together, spent a lot of time doing together, and how I've always bonded with my dad, and we have that incredible bond. So something we moved here, actually, my boyfriend and I. So this is Gray.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hi, Gray.
Hello. So my story is less interesting. I'm Gray Warden. I'm from Philadelphia originally. I just like fishing and nature, so that's why I'm here. But she has a much broader backstory.
But yeah, Gray's with me here today. We moved to Denver about 6 months ago, and obviously trying to get very involved in the fly fishing community out here. Any restoration efforts, anything that we can be a part of to help and, just do our part.
Well, very good. Thank you again. And Anastasia did participate in our cleanup of the South Platte River, and that was very nice of you to join and participate right away. So we appreciate that. Let's see. Anybody else? I got a lot of no video, so I can't
My
see
friend
that.
Rhoda, this is her first time on here. Are you there, Rhoda? Oops, her iPad's there. She stepped out of the room, I guess.
It's her iPad.
It's her. Okay.
Sure, Scott, I'll step up. This is my first time in one of these meetings. I've been out to Lake Lehigh once or twice, but just appreciate you guys putting this on. My story's nowhere as interesting as Anastasia's, but my best friend, I've been fly fishing out in Denver about since I moved here 12 years ago. Came to Trout Unlimited through big supporter, Peter Stitcher over at Ascent Fly Fishing, and have really learned a lot from him and from this group. Through the digital stuff, but this was a particularly interesting meeting. My best friend, who I met in the second day of kindergarten 30 some odd years ago, just took over one of the wings as a lieutenant colonel down in Albuquerque, and we plan to do a lot of fly fishing between here and Albuquerque, and so this meeting's gonna hopefully provide us a lot of jumping off points for that.
Oh, excellent. Sounds great. Welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Jump in. Okay, well then let's move on just on some announcements. As you heard, we did hold the South Platte River cleanup on July 10th. We covered nearly the entire 8 miles that we had planned to do. From my perspective, it was very, very successful. And it was actually what the area I covered, we picked up trash, but it was nowhere near what I expected to see following a 4th of July holiday weekend. So that's a good sign that people are really watching what they're doing there and so on. So the river is better for it from what our perspective was. And so again, thanks for everybody that did join us, and especially to John Egan, who I don't believe is on tonight. He was up in the Yellowstone area. He set up the event and coordinated all of that. So congratulations to John. Let's see, the next thing we've got coming up is our August 17th chapter picnic. That is going to be held at Reynolds Landing starting at 5 p.m. as John just mentioned, our activity for that is Peter Stitcher, who will be doing from Ascent Fly Fishing. He's going to be doing stream sign entomology and matching the hatch. So come on out, participate with Peter, and he'll even have a little table there to sell some of his wares afterwards. So that should be really good.
1 second. Yeah, one thing on that, if anyone went to this one about 3 or 4 years ago, what Peter does is he actually jumps in the water with whoever wants to join him. So bring some waders. He's got a bunch of nets and things like that he's going to give to us, and we can go ahead and do some sampling with them. And it's a pretty fun time. So feel free to kind of bring wading shoes or waders or whatever you want to do, and jump in the water with them. So it's a lot of fun to kind of get involved on a real kind of overt basis.
Brian, do you know what time he's going to start that?
We're going to start at 5 o'clock, Cindy.
He's going to start that at 5 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. So that'll be fun. We do have the Denver taco truck coming in catering from a truck perspective, but if you want to bring your own sandwiches or whatever, you could do that. We're not doing our normal barbecue event. We want to keep it very simple at this time. So food. I was trying to get a hold of Barry and or Peter King. They are also looking to see if we are able to get a alcohol license for that event. So that's still up in the air at this point in time. And then let's see, Jerry, you mentioned the San Juan trip in October is booked up right now, but if you're still, if people want to get on the wait list to give Jerry a little note and so he can get you on that list. And I think one of the big event changes here is our September meeting. We're planning on going in person on that meeting back at the Crest Hill Middle School. So right now, that's our plan. And so we will do that, but we'll also have a Zoom being active for those who want to participate from the Zoom meeting. So you could do it each way, and it'd be nice to start face to face with everybody. And that's all I have for announcement.
May I make an announcement, please?
Yes, George.
Richard Pulatsky is heading up the Mineral Park Conservation Project near Alma. And my understanding is that most of the heavy construction is done. He and I and John Aaron and possibly John Egan are going to go up there this Friday to take a look-see. And we're going to have a conservation project probably Saturday, August 14th, where we are going to invite all our members to come up with us and help reseed and revegetate that area. And again, that's just above Alma. And so keep an eye on that for our calendars. And after Richard and I take a look at that area, I'm sure he's going to be writing up something and sending it to Brian for Brian to send out to everybody.
Sounds great. All right. Well, then what I'll do is I will turn over the meeting to Brian, who will make the announcement for our tonight's guest speaker.
Thanks, Scott. You know, we're lucky to have Noah Parker with us, and it looks like we got about 45 Noah, so we got a pretty good showing for today.
All right.
And Noah actually he's the owner and founder of Land of Enchantment Guides, kind of down between Santa Fe and Taos, and kind of serves the area down there. He actually grew up back east fishing, and he fished the Catskills a lot in New England. When I was doing some research, I found out that he had a couple of interesting family friends, Ernest Schreiber and Arnold Gingrich. So he got to fish with those two fellows. And if you don't know who those two fellows are, look them up. That's kind of fly fishing royalty, and you kind of got to learn from the best. That's kind of cool. Noah actually started tying and selling flies at the age of 10. And then he actually kind of took a left turn, and he actually became a commercial saltwater fisherman, and did that in his 20s. And I kind of saw a blank there, and then he got tired of that and ended up moving out to New Mexico back in the early 2000s, and took his whole family out there and opened up Land of Enchantment Guides, and he's been kind of fly fishing and guiding ever since in the area. The shops, the home waters for the shop are the Chama, the Rio Grande, the San Juan, and the Brazos. But when you kind of get beyond that, they've got just a ton of really nice private water and really nice public water throughout northern New Mexico and southern Colorado. And we've had a couple folks that have kind of taken some trips with Noah's guys, and it's really a great crew, and they have a lot of really nice places to stay as well. So it's kind of a cool place. Find out more about them, talk to Noah, go on their website and kind of look what are the options are there, because there's some pretty cool options. He's an endorsed outfitter. He's a big TU supporter, and we were talking a little bit beforehand about some of the projects he's done in conservation. One of them he may spend a little bit of time talking about is the catch and release water on the Chama. That sounds kind of interesting to hear about from our standpoint. But welcome, Noah, and let's have a great presentation.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Excuse me, folks, if you wouldn't mind, again, mute yourself. And if you've got a question to ask Noah, throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat, address it to everyone. And I'll be monitoring the chat. And so if I see something, I will relay it to Noah.
All right, shall we start?
Yep.
Go right ahead, sir.
All right, 1 minute here. There we go. And let's see. Everybody can see this, I hope. Can you hear me there?
Noah, it looks great and your sound is good.
All right. So Brian gave a great introduction. And what I've got here is just sort of a slideshow with a bunch of pictures, and I'll try and click through it quickly and describe as I go. Yeah, and we can certainly, after, if you have a question right away, let George know, and I'll try my best to answer it. But it's basically a bunch of the rivers that we fish around here. And yeah, I guess we'll just start. So let's see here. Let me see if this is working, and come on. Uh-oh. Oh, Lord, at least. There we go. Whoop. So the first river that I will talk about is the Chama, which for me is my all-time favorite river that I fish literally anywhere. And it's got a lot of different types of water and known for bigger browns. There are a fair number of rainbows, but we're typically there targeting brown trout. So you'll notice the water, this is below El Vado Dam actually. And there are in essence 3 tailwaters on the Chama. The 2 that we fish the most are below El Vado Dam and then below the Heron Dam, which is upstream of El Vado. And this area here where this picture is taken is at the very downstream end of that catch and release area that we were mentioning a little bit before. So there's another Chama brown trout from that same catch and release area. It's kind of interesting if you notice, and I'm no ichthyologist, but a lot of the browns in that area have these blue dots on their gill plate behind the eye. A lot of them, I don't know, I don't see that too much anywhere else. So this section taken in the fall is below the Heron Dam, which is upstream of the El Vado Reservoir. It has more rainbows, but also some really nice browns. That's a typical rainbow from that section of water. These fish, if you notice, their eyes are actually pretty large. They tend to live in El Vado Reservoir and come up into the river. They have very few spots and for some reason bigger eyeballs. I assume maybe that's because they're trying to live in the lake longer. But anyway, so there's another brown trout that's in the El Vado stretch. It's the El Vado stretch is higher sandstone type cliffs, a little more desert than what's upstream. This picture here is above the town of Chama in the Freestone area. and it's a completely different river. It's kind of amazing. The Chama runs, about 120 miles from the headwaters to where it goes into the Rio Grande. And there's just so many different types of water. You know, certain spots fish better during certain times of year. This picture is taken actually right below the town of Chama. As you can see, a lot greener. A lot of stoneflies in the Chama, especially below the dams. They're a great fly pattern there as well. This is below El Vado. The state did stock some Rio Grande cutthroats, and there are actually a few of them have taken hold, amazingly. So that's a pretty cool thing. This section of the Chama gives you a little bit of an idea of what it looks like is above El Vado in the, what we call the Heron section. It's pretty rough going, but if you can hike a little, you're gonna have miles of pretty untouched water. So anyway, that's a pretty decent brown from the El Vado area in that catch and release area. And the reason that we worked so hard for that was the state hasn't stocked brown trout. I think the last time they stocked them was in the late 80s, early 90s. So all the browns that you have in any river in New Mexico are completely wild. And the fish count down there isn't that great, but there's some really nice fish. And we just wanted to try and preserve it. So that's sort of a view from a little higher up the canyon rim of what that section in that catch and release area looks like. I own a piece of property up on the top of the mesa, so it's pretty easy access for us in there, but it's a pretty nice looking river, I think. You do notice the water is off color. It tends to be off color, let's say from maybe May through November, and then it starts to clear as the reservoir turns over. But those fish eat real well, even when it's pretty turbid looking. So there's a nice rainbow as well from that catch and release area. I like the guy's hat. I'm sure you can all see that. If you also notice on this rainbow, how can you see my mouse, how few dots there are? That seems to be somewhat classic of these rainbows in this area. I really don't know why, but there's another shot upstream of the El Vado Reservoir, just to give you an idea of what the country looks like. That's upstream. You notice the blue dot on that brown up there. Brian might know this guy. He's from the Houston Orvis store. I think he's the fishing manager or the hole manager there now. His name's Jose, but anyway. There's a good view of a section of the upper area of the Chama, just so you get a feel for what it looks like. That spot takes, about an hour to walk upstream to, but it's pretty nice water. So anyway, and those pools, that pool there at below those bigger boulders is probably 10, 12 feet deep. And the fish tend to be up, into this area, but there's some pretty good sized browns in that still water down below it, stiller water. So that fish is below the Abiquiu Dam, which is much closer to Santa Fe. We get a pretty good fall fishery there, but we tend to fish there throughout the winter. The water clears really well throughout the winter and into the early spring. It's a nice spot. If you're in Santa Fe and want to do a day trip that's closer, it's pretty easy access and good. There's another shot Just to give you an idea, that's below El Vado Dam again, needless to say, wintertime. So it fishes pretty well throughout the year, depending on the level of the water in the reservoir, because when the reservoir gets really low, that water gets really cold. If there's a lot of water in the reservoir, it stays warmer and the fishing holds up throughout the winter. So anyway, another typical rainbow from that area. Yet again, oh, somebody dinged in, sorry about that. Yet again, you'll notice the lack of spots. I wish somebody would explain that to me. So, whoops. So any questions about that? I'd be happy to answer if you like. Okay. So we also guide on the Conejos River, which I would assume some of you folks, or maybe all of you, have heard about it, right across the state line into Colorado. And it's an amazing fishery as well. There's a lot of public water. We have a really good private ranch with about 3 miles. That's where this picture was taken. Yeah, so to say it's a tailwater is sort of a misnomer, in that there is a small reservoir way upstream called Platoro, but you know, when it's really high, they release some water, or sometimes a fair amount, but a lot of it, you really don't think that you're in a tailwater. This picture gives you a good idea of what it looks like now. That was taken about 2 weeks ago. On the Conejos, there's a really good drake hatch, gray drakes primarily. It's kind of over now, but depending on the water temperature and the air and season temperature, it's typically from, say, mid-June into mid-July, and it's excellent dry fly fishing. There's also a pretty good salmon fly hatch on the Conejos, which you can actually start down low closer to the closest town there is Antonito, and you can literally follow the salmon flies up the river for about a 2-3 week period. So yeah, so that's what that looks like. That's down in the public water, probably 8-10 miles upstream from Antonito. The Conejos in the spring is when we catch our biggest rainbows. There's some really nice fish in there. Spring, obviously, it's primarily a nymph fishery, and junk flies as well, but boy, there's some beauties. For those of you that, you know, this is another shot of the Conejos on that private ranch we work with. It's really pretty. So typical brown trout from the Conejos. There's year after year, this year especially, there seems to be more and more brown trout. Don't quite know why, but there's still some pretty damn big rainbows as well. So let's keep going. Whoop, hello? Somebody had a question, I guess, but anyway.
No, you're good, keep going.
Okay, so that's the Conejos in the fall. It gets really pretty, as most of our areas do, with the aspen and cottonwoods turning, but it's a gorgeous river. This is public water again, and boy, the public water has been really good the last few years. There's a young fellow with a pretty nice rainbow. That was a typical large Conejos rainbow. That kid's quite the angler, I must say. Anyway, Yet again, sort of the same picture as before, public water on the Conejos. And, you know, this year again, we've had better flows. Last year was pretty hard in August, but I think, you know, August, September, October, it was so dry in the Conejos area. But this year the flows are a lot better, so it should hold up really nicely. In the fall, the fish get pretty selective. You're looking at 5.5, 5, 6X, something like that, and small flies. But yet again, another springtime Conejos rainbow. There's a sampling of one rock on the Conejos. So you've got obviously stones, lots of caddis, midges. I'm sure there might be a mayfly in there under one of the stone flies, but there is a lot of food. And some of the stone flies, you know, or salmon flies, Pteronarcis, are really big. Another spring rainbow, you can see the big kype. Just to give you an idea, as soon as the ice leaves, it's game on. So that's typically, mid-March. This is a little further up the valley. There's a little road that turns off of Route 17. Well, it stays 17 that you can drive for, I guess about 25 miles, a dirt road up to Platoro. And that's what the river area looks like heading up that way. There's another nice Conejos rainbow. That one was a real beauty. That was a dry fly eat as well, as I recall. So there's me and my buddy with a springtime fish. If you want to target, you know, the bigger rainbows, they're pretty aggressive in the spring on that river. And man, there's some gorgeous fish. Your numbers probably won't be as high, but you know, the reward can be pretty good. There's your salmon flies, which that picture was taken 2 years ago, I guess, on the Conejos. I'm sure you've all seen those. So stimulators, that kind of thing, work really well. We do tie a lot of our own extended body foam type stone flies. This is pretty cool. I'm not sure where they came from, but there's a bunch of Snake River fine spot cutthroats in the Conejos as well. And there's some pretty big ones. Not that many, but you can catch a few. There's my son with a beautiful fish. That one's from upstream a little further, also on public water. So worth a look. Anyway, let's see, where are we? Okay, so I don't know if you folks have heard of the Navajo River, but it's a small stream that flows into the San Juan, and it's in an area near a little town called Cromo, Colorado, which is about 20, 30 minutes, pretty much west-northwest of Chama. And we have 2 private ranches we work on there, and it's just one of the prettiest stretches of water we fish. There's not any really big fish, but can be really good. Mostly wild fish, and just really gorgeous. So that's kind of what it looks like. There's lots of high, forest there. It's pretty high altitude. That's one of the lower stretches. Early spring, you can see the water's pretty turbid from runoff, but the fish start there pretty early as well. That's a good example of what the upper ranch that we have up there is. The mountains in the background are, you can't really see it all of them, but that's the Banded Peak Range, which sort of runs between Chama, New Mexico and Cromo, Colorado. It's pretty much the tail end of the San Juans, I think you'd say. There's a pretty nice brown fall fishing there. Typical rainbow, generally that size in that river. You know, a big one's 20, 21 inches, average 14 to 16, you know, obviously some smaller, some bigger. So,
hey, Noah, is there some good public water on the Navajo?
There actually isn't. We're very lucky to have the ranches that we do. There's little tiny spots. The Hickory Apache have some area way downstream, and I've never been there. I know they let people fish it. I'm not sure if it's fee-based, but the best of that water is, I guess, sort of unfortunately, or maybe for us, fortunately, private. So, and those mountains in the background are called the Banded Peaks, and they're pretty impressive. That being said, there, you know, if somebody were in that Pagosa, Chama, even Durango area, it's so gorgeous around there. It is possibly worth just going to take a look. And like I say, there's one little section of public water way upstream that if you're intrepid, you could get to, and the fishing's really good. And by the way, just so everybody knows, obviously we're in the guiding business, but we're also very happy to help any of you. Just give us a call. You don't have to book a guide trip. We're happy to steer you in the best direction we can. So if somebody was extremely interested in finding where that public water is, I'd be happy to tell you. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, there's a brown trout from that area, real pretty fish. Okay, so this area, whoops, sorry. This is the Brazos River, is a tributary of the Chama, and it enters the Chama between Tierra Amarilla and the town of Chama. And there is some pretty good public water on the Brazos lower down. And then there's a place that we work with called Corkins. And they let us guide there for a rod fee. But if you folks take a look at the Corkins website, there's a link on our website if you want. They have amazing cabins right there. And if you stay in their cabins, you can fish their water without paying the rod fee. So that's a good one to keep in mind. The Brazos is a really pretty little river and has some great fishing. Just so you know, these are the Brazos Cliffs, and Corkins is actually right up under these cliffs. Those cliffs are about 1,000 feet down to the water. They're pretty gorgeous. A lot of wild browns in there. That one's taken in the fall, public water. And that's on public water. You can see the cliffs in the background. It's pretty easy going, except the rocks are polished granite. So if you do go there, don't have studs on your shoes. It'll be like ice skates. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, this picture is in the Corkins water. And if you can hike a little ways, you'll get up into this kind of water, up into the Box Canyon, and it's just incredible dry fly fishing. Well, it's incredible fishing no matter what. This is Corkins in the spring on the public, the public Brazos springtime. You can see it's a little high and off color, but the fish are pretty hungry. you're not going to get anything much over, say, 20 inches, but there's a lot of fish in there. So it's a really fun place to fish. This is what it looks like as you get further upstream, closer into the Brazos box. And it's just one of the prettiest places anywhere. I'll put it up against anything. It is a hike to get up in there, but when you do, you know, the fishing's pretty impressive. You can, on a good summer day, you can go all day with a single dry fly and catch lots. So it's really beautiful. That's downstream on the public water. You know, they do stock some rainbows in there, sort of an average size fish. That spot's real easy to get to. You can see the polished rocks. They are slippery though. Be careful with that. Anyway, the lower section, you know, nymphs work really well. Obviously, we do a lot of dry dropper stuff on the Brazos. So now, if you were to look at a map, and yet again, unfortunately, all of this area is private, the Brazos turns and starts running due north up at 10,000 feet up in the meadows. And we work with a pretty cool ranch up there, and it's pretty epic fishing. Lots of all wild fish, but as you can see, it's these high alpine meadows, and simply all wild fish. There's no browns. It's all rainbows and brookies. And there's some pretty nice brook trout up there. It's pricey to go up there, but it's pretty impressive. But that's sort of what the headwaters of the Brazos look like up in the meadow at 10,000 feet. That's an upper box in the Brazos. This is public, but it's almost impossible to get to unless you can get through some of the private ranches, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And these pocket water is all dry fly fishing. Not many large fish, but just incredible numbers. So, you know, on a good day, you're just moving from a pool because you want to go somewhere else. The fish, there's just tons of wild rainbows, little ones like that, up to about, oh, I don't know, maybe 16 or 18 inches would be a big fish for that water. But it is an absolute hoot. That's just a shot of the entry to one of the upper canyons there. So that's springtime up in the meadows. You can see the snow is just starting to melt. That picture was taken the end of June on a big snow year. So the snow on a good year takes a while before you can even get up there. That's sort of what those meadows look like. And here's another river. This is all public. So this is the Los Pinos River, and it originates in Colorado and flows into New Mexico. And this spot that most of these pictures are from is literally, I think about 8 miles north of Chama. It's a really beautiful meadow stretch with a lot of pretty decent sized browns and some good rainbows, but mostly brown trout. That's generally a little bit upper section of it, what it looks like. That's early spring, as you can see with the snow, but that's a good sized fish for in there. But it's really small water, and it's, you know, pretty fun to, it can be a little spooky when it's low and clear, but catching those size fish in that kind of water is always a lot of fun. Another sort of standard size brown. There's also, I haven't quite done it yet, but I'm gonna, because last fall I was up there and there were so many mice. I think I'm gonna go and try it with a mouse pattern, and I have a feeling a lot of these browns live on the mice up there, and hoppers, of course. That's the upper section of it. Give you an idea as it starts to get into the mountains or the trees a little more. Another brown from there. That's a good view of it in the fall. That's generally the size of the river. And even that was taken in October. A single hopper is all you need, even into the fall. It seems the fish don't forget about grasshoppers. So that's all public, everything that I showed you there. So one to keep in mind. I know you all seen this. I'll run through it quickly. We do guide on the San Juan. Lately, especially this year, it's been pretty crowded over there. We're actually doing a lot more wade fishing, seem to be able to get away from the crowds a little bit more. This spring was pretty crazy how crowded it was. I do hope by October for your guys' trip, it's mellowed out. But for those of you that know the area, that's the lower flats. Nice day with just me and a client there. Nobody else. That's cool. Typical San Juan rainbow. That's up under the dam, pretty close. For those of you that haven't fished it, what we're doing a lot, because there's been so many boats on the river, is fishing above the Texas hole up to the dam. At least you're not dealing with the boats as much. I mean, we've got access, we own 2 and access to 4 others. So it's not that we don't want to float it. It's often better to get away from the throngs. We tend to try and fish the San Juan from about November through April. You guys that are in Colorado, if you watch the weather and see a really good spell in January, February, or March, that's jump in your car and go. That's the time to go. The fish eat just as well in the winter as during the summer. So that's a wade trip up under the dam. Just if you don't know the area, that's the lower flats in the winter. Typically in the summer, there'd be 10 or 20 anglers in there. So like I say, that's a pretty cool picture of some of the fish on the San Juan. There's a lot of them, that's for sure. Another nice San Juan rainbow. Obviously, primarily a midge fishery for those that don't know. That's right up under the dam. I'm sure some of you have been there yourselves. The last few years, there's been a lot more browns on the San Juan as well. Fair number in that size. There's been a couple of absolute slobs, 25, 30-inch fish. If you like streamers and you can commit to it, that's a good thing to try. So, am I going too quick? Are everybody good?
Noah, you're good, but there is a question.
Okay.
Someone
please.
unfamiliar is wondering, what is the dam on the San Juan? So I'm sure he's referring to the dam that leads to that quality water.
Yeah, so that is called Navajo Dam. And I haven't confirmed this, but I've been told that it's the largest earthen dam in the world. If not, I would assume maybe in the States. It's a pretty good sized reservoir and quite deep. And I can move back to it, I think. That's the spillway. That dam because the water's so deep and the water comes off the bottom of the dam, it keeps an ambient temperature in the San Juan somewhere in the lower to mid 40s. Due to that, the temperature of the water for the first, oh goodness, 6-8 miles at least, hardly changes from the middle of the winter to the middle of the summer. So what that means is, as I was alluding to, the fishing's pretty much as good, if not better, in the winter. Come August, September, well, July, August, June, July, and August is pretty hot over there because that area is about 5,400 feet of altitude. And the fish get pretty, they've been fished on pretty well by midsummer. So yet again, October, November, December, but for us, mid-November through mid-March is you can have the whole place to yourself, which is pretty cool. Hope that answered it. Okay, so the reason I'm showing you guys this is one of the ranches that we work with, that we do these all-inclusive type packages at. And it's in Chama. It's a 17,000 acre ranch. It has no running water, but it has 7 or 8 really nice lakes. But what it does for us is it gives us a really good point to access all the rivers that I showed you and a few more in the Chama area. As well, a lot of people don't realize Chama is about an hour and 15-20 minute drive to the San Juan. So occasionally we'll do have somebody stay with us 4 or 5 nights, fish 4 days or something, and we will run over to the San Juan if they really want to. But I'll skim through this pretty quickly. We have 5 drift boats on the lakes there. And it's pretty good stillwater fishing for those of you that like that. It's also, there's a couple of small lakes up high that are really easy to fish from the shore. And they're full of pretty nice fish. And most of these fish that are in there are, they are stocked, but they're holdovers. So they get to be pretty big. These are actually a couple of folks from Boulder had a pretty nice double there. So, anyway, so that's what it looks like up in the higher altitude parts of the Quinlan Ranch. The only issue with that spot is it's a big elk hunting ranch. If you want to go elk hunting, you can, but it gets pretty booked up September, October, and November. But we tend to do stuff out of there from March through mid-September. And there you go. That's one of the lakes. Pretty cool. You can see a fish rising behind that fish. Anyway, it's a pretty good spot for kids. And there's fishing from one of the points on the lakes. That's that same spot. So that gives you an idea of some of the size fish. So anyway, that's sort of an overview of the Chama area. And what I have here are some quick slides of some stuff that's closer to Santa Fe. We do a lot of trips out of Santa Fe. A lot of folks will want to go to Santa Fe and do that whole scene in town there, which is a lot of fun, and restaurants and all, and go fish for a couple of days. So I don't know if you've heard of the Valles Caldera, but it's a national park that's just past Los Alamos. We do that out of Santa Fe. It's about an hour and 15 minutes away. It's absolutely gorgeous, small water, all wild fish, and they're pretty hungry. This one kind of blew my mind. It ate both the dry and the dropper at one time, but almost all brown trout. Kind of looks like, this is a good example. I think the gal's name was, what was your name? Anastasia or something, that was the geologist. You might like the Caldera. It was formed by, the theory is either a bunch of volcanoes that were in a ring or one large one, and the jury's still out, but there's obsidian all over the place and just these massive alpine meadows. That was another double that ate the dry and the dropper. There's a big elk herd out there. It's pretty gorgeous. It is public. It's a national park. They limit the number of vehicles that go in there. So if you go, you want to get there early, especially on a weekend. But it's small, really fun. Yet again, you can fish, especially from June on, one single dry fly, whether it's a small hopper or an elk hair caddis or, you know, even an Adams or something like that. Nothing too sophisticated, but that's kind of what the water looks like. There's just a good example of a pretty average size fish. Nothing big, but it is so beautiful. I would encourage everybody to go there, even just to check it out. It's 90,000 acres. It's pretty amazing. There's a couple of little kind of canyon sections that look like this. Oops. Any questions on that? I would encourage everybody to check it out, whether with us or on your own. It's really beautiful. So another spot we have closer to Santa Fe is a private ranch. It's about 45 minutes out of Santa Fe, 50 minutes, all still water. There is one section of Cow Creek that's really good. It's pretty rough going to get to. We do that occasionally, depending on the flows. This year, there's a lot of water in there and the fishing's good, but mostly lakes. That's the easy way to fish, huh? Some pretty nice fish in there. This year, a lot of it's been dry fly too, which has been great. And some stocked fish, a lot of holdovers, and believe it or not, we're starting to see some browns. That picture was taken last week, actually. It's a real fun spot if you're in Santa Fe and want something close with a lot of fish. It's a good one. So anyway, Rio Grande and Pecos, two other rivers, both within an hour of Santa Fe. So that's what the Rio Grande looks like in the area between Santa Fe and Taos. It's all public. Very easy access. The wading can be a little bit dicey in spots, but the fall especially and spring, the fishing's really good. Generally, that's what it looks like in the spring, a little higher water. Mostly nymph fishing. There is a, typically, you know, for lack of a better timing example, they call it the Mother's Day caddis hatch. There can be epic dry fly fishing when that occurs. That is the Rio up above Taos, which we go to. That's in the Wild Rivers area. It's a beautiful hike, but it's a heck of a hike to get down to the river. But that's sort of what the Rio looks like in our area of New Mexico, up north it's called the Wild and Scenic Rivers area. Definitely all public, worth a look. So here we are on the Pecos, which can be epic fishing. It gets pretty pressured, so it's all public. If you can walk upstream above the end of the road, you can walk into the Pecos wilderness, and pretty good water. A lot of nice sized browns. That's a shot on the Pecos. Springtime is great. That's what it looks like in the spring. Whoop, hello. Anyway, there's another brown trout in the spring. That kid was 5 years old. I had to put that in. Obviously springtime, mostly nymphs, nothing too sophisticated. And there's a Pecos fish, believe it or not. And that's one of our guides caught that on a streamer. And that's the trout porn for the day. And whoops, I'm going the wrong direction. I think that's about it. So if you can bear with me a little bit here, I would like, if I can, to, let me see how I do this. Let me see if I can show you our website. Can you all still see this? Whoops. Hold on 1 minute. There we are. Whoops. Okay, can you all still see that?
No,
hello?
you're going to need to share your screen.
Oh, it went away on me? Sorry about that.
Uh-huh.
Wonder why it did that. Oh, I have to share a different screen. Okay, how about that?
There you go.
Great. Okay, so there are a couple of things that I would like to show you on here, and I think I'll start with this because I did hear a bunch of you talking about tying flies. We try and do a fishing report. And as in depth as I can. You might want to check that out. But if you scroll down the fishing report, there we go. So the folks at the Fly Tire magazine have profiled us on tying flies for this area. And if you go in there, so this is an article on my son Shane and some of his flies. You can click a PDF, and it's going to take a while to load. And there should be, a bunch of flies that we are primarily our own patterns that we use with the recipes. Those are all Shane's patterns. Well, let me see if I can get out of this. Hold on here. Sorry about this, folks. Hopefully there we go. And this article here, if it helps you guys, as well, has a bunch of guide tested flies for fishing in New Mexico. There you go. And these are a bunch of patterns that, that's the Chama as well. A bunch of patterns that myself, Jesse Lee, who's our top guide as well, and my son tied with the recipes. Pretty simple stuff, similar to, I'm sure, a lot of what you guys use up in Colorado, but for those that are interested in the fly tying, that could be of interest. And let me get back to the top of the screen real quickly here. Just if it helps you, yet again, and I encourage you to call anytime. Obviously, we're happy to take you on a guided trip. If you go to here, you can find links to the all-inclusive packages we do. And our rates for day trips are there as well. Lists of all the rivers and stuff that we work, and there's actually a fair number that I just haven't had time to get on here. So, and a bunch of other information. If you're wanting to come down on your own, there's a bunch of places in Santa Fe, but these are a bunch of the motels in the Chama area that are really good. We've had clients stay in all of them. This place is below El Vado Dam. If you want to fish that, it's not a bad spot to stay. It's a bit of a ways from Chama, and that's that Corkins place that I told you about on the Brazos. So I think that's about it. I hope I haven't run on too long. Is there anything else I can tell you, or any questions or anything?
Hey, is this recording going to be available for any of us after the call?
I assume so. That would be
yes,
for
yes.
Brian or George.
Yeah, this recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. And Brian, are you there? Are there going to be other links to it posted various places?
Yeah, we'll stick a link up in Facebook, and it'll be in the next newsletter as well. But you can just go straight to the YouTube channel. Probably tomorrow afternoon, we'll have it loaded up.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
Sure.
And Noah, Cindy has a question.
Sure.
How are the water levels down there, and how is the drought impacting the areas?
So this year in the Chama area, we actually had a pretty much average snowfall. Last year was really dire. By the end of August, the rivers were really low and pretty warm. So the conditions are much better this year than last year. Needless to say, the tailwater sections on the Chama are doing really well because they're fed from the reservoir. As I think I mentioned earlier, well, we've had an immense amount of rain for us. So Chama's been getting a lot of rain. The rain in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, which are, to the east of Santa Fe in general, the Pecos is running really strong. So we've had incredible rain in the Santa Fe area. So stuff's holding up pretty well. Praise the Lord. I mean, compared with what I'm hearing from, Montana and further west, we're very blessed. I mean, it's the amount of rain we've had in the last, honestly, 3 to 4 weeks. I don't even know if it was the monsoon that was started earlier. So hopefully, we'll have a good fall. I think it should be pretty good. I hope that answers your question.
And Noah, Buzz wants to know if you have any lodging contacts on the Conejos.
So here's the weird thing. The Conejos, we used to have folks would stay in Antonito. There's not, how can I put this tactfully? What we recommend folks do is stay in Chama and then drive over the pass, which is a gorgeous drive. Takes about 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and it'll drop you. It's called La Manga Pass. And you come in right on the Conejos where the dirt road I mentioned that starts going upstream to Platoro Reservoir is. There's good campsites all along the river if you're camping. As far as, there's a place called, with a couple of cabins, it's called, oh God, I can't remember, but they tend to rent up pretty quick. There is a fly shop there, and I know they have a few rooms. But most everybody that we know, if they're coming down this way to fish for, a few days, they'll stay in Chama, and you can access the Conejos very easily. We do it almost daily out of Chama. but it also allows you to fish all the stuff around Chama as well. So unfortunately, there's a couple of places listed on this. If you go where it says other stuff in the food and lodging, I'll click through it. There's this bed and breakfast. We've had people stay there. This steam train hotel in Antonito, we've had people stay there. I would gently suggest maybe looking at Chama and driving over, just for nicer places to stay. Hope that helped.
You know, how have the crowds been this year now that you guys are kind of back up and running?
So it's been kind of weird. So when the drakes were really hatching on the Conejos, it was really crowded, except there and again, like anywhere else, if you're willing to walk a ways, you can, it's, you know, I don't think it's as crowded as maybe what you see closer to Denver up there in spots, but the Pecos has been crowded, but it's so weird. I mean, in the, you know, late spring, early summer, everybody was out and doing everything, rafting, walking, hiking, biking, but that seems to be waning a little, thank gosh. So, you know, for us, we're pretty spoiled. A lot of places, if we see another angler, I start getting a little antsy. And so I think we've been pretty spoiled. Like anywhere else, well, maybe not, but if you're willing to walk a ways, we don't have the number of people closer to bigger metropolitan areas. So, you know, even on the public water, if you go right where you park your car, you're on a weekend, yeah, well, it's going to be crowded. But if you walk a half a mile, you can usually get, you know, have it all to yourself. But yeah, it seems like I've heard from everywhere all over the West, it's been nuts. It was nuts earlier on. I don't know up your way, but it was not only fishermen, it was just everybody wanted to get out, and I can't blame them. But it seems to be mellowing out a little bit now. Are you seeing that up your way, Brian, or what?
Yeah, we're about 16, 17 months of nuts. So it's just been nonstop.
No break?
No breaks.
Oh gosh. Well, no, we're lucky in that respect. So, I mean, one of our guys was on the public Conejos 2 days ago and saw one other angler, you know, so
That's
I mean,
great.
Granted, he was walking a ways from the parking area, but that's pretty cool. I can live with that, you know. Yet again, the same on the Chama. If like it's below El Vado, if you go right at Cooper's there are going to be a lot of people, but they don't tend to walk. And the catch and release area there starts, about a half a mile below Cooper's, which is where you park. That's the only access for, goodness, 20 miles, give or take. So the further you walk from the parking spot, the better you're going to be.
Very nice.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have any other questions? Well, what I would encourage everybody to do is don't be bashful. Give us a call. You know, you can shoot an email if you like. And if you're down this way, come and say hello. We are actually opening a small shop at a resort outside of Santa Fe. So you're more than welcome to come in. And yet again, you don't have to book a guide trip to call up and get some info. So don't feel like that. Just give us a buzz. I mean, we'd love you to book a guide trip, but you know what I'm saying. It's for people that are in TU, especially, we're very happy to help you figure out the area.
It was a nice presentation, Noah. Enjoyed that.
Okay, I hope it was. This is a first for me on Zoom. So
you had a good maiden voyage. That was excellent, Noah. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, well, thank you all for having me. And like I say, if you get down this way, come and say hello.
Great job, Noah. We enjoyed it very much.
Thanks. All right, folks. Well, take care. Thank you.
All right, Noah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Anything else, Scott?
No, I don't have anything unless anybody wants to ask a question or anything like that.
So where is Noah's main store? Is it in Santa Fe or Chama? Which one?
Excuse me, what was that?
Which is your main store, in Santa Fe or Chama?
So yeah, our office is in Santa Fe, but like I said, in the summer and the fall, we're probably 60% of our trips are at least are in the Chama area. But we do have a location. We're still waiting. Our office is there. We're still waiting for, believe it or not, we're at this high-end resort called Bishop's Lodge, and we're in our building, but we're still building out the shop. So it is open. If you want, you can come by. But within a month, I'll be sending out a newsletter and Instagram and Facebook type of thing saying when we're officially ready to rock. But that's gonna be pretty cool. This Bishop's Lodge has built a completely manufactured little stream, and our store sits at the bottom pool. So you can literally step out and try a fly rod if you wanted, but our primary business is the guiding and that. So it'll be a little bit of both, but mostly still our guide business will be operating out of there. I mean, we do operate it primarily. Our office has been in Santa Fe for 6 years now, I guess, but not officially open to the public. We're pretty laid back though. So if you call and show up tomorrow, would love to see you. But once it's officially open, which should be, we're hoping by the end of August, we'll have official hours, so to speak. So, but yeah, if you're in Santa Fe, come and say hello.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, so let's see. Before we leave, I just want to remind everybody about our picnic in August. Hope to see everybody there. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting for tonight. And thank you, Noah, for the great presentation.
All right. Well, thank you all for having me. Take care. It's been a pleasure.
See you, Noah. Talk soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you.